Welcome to BIZBoost Talks Live. I'm your friendly host, Imran, the creator of BIZBoost Galaxy. Today's interview is filled with abundance of Monday vibes, and we have cooked Monday motivation takeaways fresh out of oven just for you. Right now, we are broadcasting live from Hong Kong, Delhi on 7 channels across Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Are you hungry for spiritual growth? Do you want to charge your inner search engine to find your soulmate and evolve your relationships? Let's dive deep with our special guest, Neha Sonney, writer, poet, best-selling author, self-love advocate, and relationship coach. Warm welcome to the Biscuits Galaxy. How are you feeling today, Neha?
Very well. Thank you so much for having me, Ron. It's a great opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. To all the viewers, let me tell you, she believes that self love is the key to a healthy relationship with oneself and others. Neha is the best selling author of Wired for Self Love, a book that is packed with research, stories, proven strategies one can use to lead a better life. As featured at BizBoost magazine, issue number 6, we will talk more about that too. Neha, the stage is all yours. Please tell us why are relationships important?
Relationships are important because we're meant to relate. We are wired to belong. We want to belong to others. We want to be in happy relationships with our people, friends, family, and that's what creates moments for us to look forward to live for. If your workplace or environment or your own relationship with your siblings, parents, or your spouse is not okay, do you think you're going to be okay by yourself? Do you think it's not going to affect you? This is the reason why relationships are very important, and they reflect our relationship, your relationship with yourself. Relationships are mirrors.
That's really insightful. How can singles improve their chances of finding a life partner in the current dating climate?
Singles, my advice for them is to not look for a partner, but look for a friend first. Why I say this? It's because people go into the dating world thinking that it's going to be someone they're just going to meet and get to know without establishing something, and they may dive into just the like look for chemistry or what's common, or just you know they get into sexual relationships without building a foundation on which the relationship can be sustained in the long term. When I speak about relationships, I'm not going to say short term relationships, because that's not what are going to bring us what we deeply crave.
Hmm.
The fulfillment that we crave within relationships is the vulnerability, not just physical vulnerability. That's very easy for people to go to just jump into. It's the emotional vulnerability that is what people are looking for, and that's hard. It's not easy to open up to other people. And that's why you want to find someone who is like a friend to you, whom you can trust enough to share about yourself, about your goals, about your life with. That's when you may think, oh, I think I can share a lot with this person, and maybe they also have a lot to share with you. Then you may find some common ground. So do not go into dating and looking for this is what I want and this is what I want. No. Also think about how I am contributing. How are you contributing to the person? Like, so you want a friend. Are you being a friend? You want love, you want respect. How are you showing that? You want to be recognized. Are you listening? You want to be heard. Are you listening? So can you reciprocate, and what is it that you can reciprocate? What are you bringing to the table?
Hmm.
That's what people need to look for, because people jump into relationships looking that I can take from a relationship. I always say relationships are like a bank where you
Mm,
need to deposit before you can withdraw. Make
exactly.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. It's relationship for me is like an investment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just about you, it's about us. When
Yeah.
we get together as partners or in a relationship, uh, uh, it's not about just one person, it's about a new world that is being created between the person one and person two. So it's really important to put your partner or your friend first before thinking about yourself. So that's
Yeah.
what I believe in. So talking
Related.
about, yeah, so talking about emotional well-being, it's really interesting talks. How can people navigate disappointments and negative experiences when dating?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. How can people navigate disappointments and negative experiences when dating?
When dating,
Yeah.
you are going to encounter negative experiences, and you want to know that, okay, you want to look at dating like a job application, and you want to design your dating profile in a certain way where you're clear about what you want and you communicate that clearly. Doesn't matter what the other person has. So when you are matched up with others who are not matched up with you, you don't have to put up with meeting those people who are not the right match for you. You always have to think about, okay, many people think, am I going to be liked? Is this person going to like me? It's a first date. What should I wear? How should I dress up? All of those things external. They're up in the head. And when they're inside their head, they cannot be present to the other person. So, how can they connect with the other person? And you're not going to connect with everyone. So, you only want to connect with the ones who want to connect with you. And the people who do not, and chasing the people who do not want to connect with you is going to bring you disappointment. You need to have realistic expectations and be very grounded when you are dating. So this is going to minimize your negative dating experiences. And also, it's like when you're applying for jobs, you are going to face rejection. It's a part of it. You're gonna face rejection. You're gonna face ghosting. It's terrible, as horrible as it is. It is a reality, and it's a part of life. But you have to also think about where that rejection is coming from. Now, if someone who is not even suitable for you rejects you, I mean, it's like a company. You're not a suitable match, and they're not a good match for you. Is there something to feel bad about or take personally? Right? So having those expectations lower, but being centered and grounded in what you are looking for, having very, very clear idea about what you want in a partner, the qualities. If you go for those and what you value, you may face lesser negative experiences. It will happen, but let it not affect you so much. And this is why I also advise for emotional well-being. Anyone who likes to practice meditation or any form of mindfulness, that is going to also help them regulate those um, the emotions that come up. And if you get fed up of the continuous experiences, negative experiences that you're having, take a break. Take a break. Focus on yourself, and it's
That's a
okay
great,
to feel.
yeah, that's a great advice for the people who often come across disappointments and negative experiences while dating, and for them, this will be really helpful. It sounds really tricky for the emotional beings and emotional people who whose emotions are overridden. Talking about this trick, what is tricky about asking questions that begins with why?
Ah, yes. So this is something I talk about in my book more in detail, and
Mm,
when people meditate, like it depends on a lot of things, how it is asked. Like I can ask the question, why why are you wearing that shirt? Now think about, like, let's say I pose that question to you, and
Hmm.
it makes you conscious about yourself, like why is she asking me this question, and what is something not okay with my shirt? So and if you ask it in a completely different way where you are aware, okay, why are you wearing this shirt? It's a very different feel to that question. And more importantly, if people who take things personally and especially do not know how to regulate their emotions, especially negative emotions, when they
Hmm.
come up, it's hard. Because, and a lot of people go, why did this happen to me? Why me? Why God? It keeps you stuck. Why questions if you don't know? Because many people and like the gurus and Simon Sinek said, find your why, follow your why, find your why. But people
Exactly.
need to understand how they're asking themselves those why questions. If they're
Hmm.
in the negative spiral of why God, why me, why did this happen, blah blah blah,
Hmm.
then they're going to stay stuck. What can they do instead? What can they ask instead?
Hmm.
Kind
Hmm.
of questions to ask are, what can I do about it, and how can, what and how. So replacing why with what questions is better, because
Hmm.
what and how are going to open you up to thinking about solutions.
Hmm.
And why questions, if you don't know how to navigate them, can keep you stuck. If you know how to question yourself and say why, you're going to go into deep thinking because you know how to handle it, and whatever comes up you can take care of it. It's not a
Hmm.
problem, and
Hmm.
as long as you know how to manage it. But if you
Hmm.
don't, then you have the option of choosing what and how questions in order for you to think about solutions. What can I do about what just happened? Instead of saying, oh, this person just banged into me. Why did he do that? Blah, blah, blah. What can I do about this? Start thinking differently.
Yeah,
How
that's
can I manage myself?
hmm. Finding solutions. I know a lot of people would love to know how can they avoid causing problems in their relationship. Please tell us about that.
One of the most important things that I keep on repeating is communication, how people communicate. Like we learn languages in school, but we never learn how to listen. We learn speaking, writing, reading, but listening is a very important skill. And how we communicate. We learn language, but we don't necessarily, not everybody knows how to communicate properly. And without communication, there is no relationship. The reason why I also talk about communication is because when people get into relationships, and this is important for people who are into, newly into relationships, dating, and all that stuff, very important. So for them to listen to this, if they're on platforms where everything goes by texting, right? There, and texting is one way to communicate, but if their communication is completely based on that, a lot is lost in that text because you are misinterpreting. You are giving more of a chance to and trying to interpret what the text means versus giving yourself and the other person a chance to actually sit down, meet, and talk face to face. It's a completely different experience. Like back when there were no apps, how did people meet? They met in person. They didn't have a plethora of options that they think that they have on dating
Hmm.
apps. They communicated. So looking at each other, talking and talking about things. Like many people also, what they are afraid is to ask the other person what they like and clarify things with the other person. And what happens is because of the fear, and many a times we're bringing our past experiences and having that play out in our current relationship. So it's very important to be mindful about that and not to repeat that. And so think about how you can navigate that in your relationship. Okay, previously I had this particular problem where I was not able to talk to my husband about something in a previous marriage, for example, and this was a reality for me. I couldn't share myself, I was not feeling safe, and all that stuff. So, what is it that I can do different? So, communicate about the things that you uh, are worried about, talk about those things, even like so the things that people don't talk about: money, sex, children, parenting. These are the things that cause problems in people's lives, marriages.
Hmm.
So I say, like, there is a reason why condoms are sold in the supermarket. You know, these are
Hmm.
it's part of it's a grocery item.
Hmm.
That's how you should be talking about the things that are important in your relationship. Because if you don't talk about it, you are going to cause problems. It's like sweeping things under the rug is not going to is it's like temporarily, let me just avoid this because it's uncomfortable to talk
Hmm.
about. But is not talking about it going to solve the problem for you? No. So as much
Yeah.
as you can talk about it, communicate. And communication, by communication, I mean not just talking the whole time. No, listen to what your partner has to say and repeat back to them, okay, this is what I'm hearing. Is that right? Break it down. Take time. No need to rush, because the more time you spend resolving that thing, later on you're not going to face, there's going to be again, when that situation happens, you know, because you have resolved it, and that problem is not going to happen again. And even if it happens, you will know how to resolve it. You'll say, oh, this has happened before, I know better, I know
Hmm.
how to be better. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy to avoid, and it's a process that you cannot avoid. And
Yeah.
if you go through that process sincerely, faithfully, then you will get through stronger only. So it's really important to get through the process, be transparent. So these are the takeaways that we are getting through. In your humble experience, Neha, how like what is the most important relationship a person can have?
um, the one they have with themselves. Because we always, when you think about relationships, we think about the other person, and then
Hmm.
a lot of times people lose themselves in relationships. Now think about this:
Hmm.
there's two people in a relationship, okay, and then one person does not have a like they have a good they think they have a relationship with the other person, but they don't have one with themselves. Now
Hmm.
where's the relationship? There's
Yeah.
just this person in your life, but where is your relationship with yourself? There is none of that. And because of you're not having your relationship or a healthy relationship, a grounded relationship with yourself, what happens is you will look for that emptiness that in other people, in other things, in things outside of you. You're going to
Hmm.
continuously look for validation because you don't have the ability to validate yourself. You will look for approval. You'll look for, am I lovable? Because you don't have the love for yourself. That is the reason why. And my relationship with myself was messed up. And a lot of times, if other people who are listening right now are experiencing um, a terrible relationship problem, I would suggest them to go back to their childhood and assess where they had problems within their childhood with the parent, and how they saw themselves, how they were seen or not seen, unheard, what they experienced, and how that is playing out in their current relationships with other people, work-wise or children or spouse, doesn't matter. So when you understand how your relationship with yourself was when you were not conscious, it's like that is that, let's say your father or mother, they're abusive, and they say, like, they can be physically abusive, verbally abusive, it still hurts. And so you take that and then that 5-year-old in you is running the show of the 25, 30, 40-year-old you, if that is unconscious and unresolved. This is the 40-year-olds are the 5-year-olds who did not get that attention. That's the
Hmm.
child that is screaming and crying inside, looking for attention, wanting that validation and love. So you know, as the adult that you are now, that you have the ability to show love to that child. This
Hmm.
was my reality. I went through this, and so I had to self parent myself. That's why I know what I'm talking about. And when you have the ability to show love to yourself, only then you can show love to other people in your relationships. So your relationship with yourself is the most important one. And it may sound selfish, but you tell me, is it? If I am on an airplane and like there is the emergency, like the oxygen mask drops in case of an emergency, if I'm fumbling myself, can I help the next person?
Hmm.
I can't. And that's self love. Putting on that oxygen mask first is the
Hmm.
self love,
Hmm.
because then I can help others. That's the awareness of being able to help others and wanting to help others, so that you can, and now you know better and you can be better. That's why that love is important. That self love is important, so that it reflects in your relationships with others.
I completely agree on that part, and I believe it starts with you. And if you can handle yourself, if you know the core that you are built upon, and you can handle anybody else. So it's a process, it's a healing journey, it's a path of spiritual growth that one needs to go through, to go back into time, into the childhood, and see where was that disconnected wire, or where things went missing. So that's really important. Neha, please tell us about your storytelling blueprint. I saw a link on your link tree, and it says people can tell their stories, and you have a blueprint program. How can people involve?
Um, so people can enroll in that by themselves if they want, or get in touch with me if they want one-on-one help. It's a 5-part program. There's 5 parts to that, and there is, when you go through those steps, you understand the stories you keep telling yourself. We are always telling ourselves stories, and once you know the story you keep telling yourself, um, you can tell yourself a new story. You can create a new story for yourself. And that's how you understand yourself. So it's not just the story that is important, it's what happens to you because of your understanding the story that you have been telling yourself unconsciously for so many years. That's what the program, the blueprint, the um, ultimate storytelling blueprint, that's what it tells, that's what it uh, sh- helps you with, finding your core story and also being able to tell how you can tell your story. So I have 2 separate models people can
Hmm.
choose between within the program, and then they can choose how they want to formulate their story. And
Hmm.
once they follow those steps, they can do that by themselves, and it's available. They don't need my help. Or if they want one-on-one help, they can reach out, and of course, that's going to be more. It's going to cost more because it's one-on-one. So that when they join that, they can just do it individually, but it's what do you call that? Independently, without any help. And if they want my help, but by all means, they can reach out to me over LinkedIn or Instagram.
Hmm.
And the reason why I share why stories are important is because I've shared stories in my book, my own story and other people's story. But I'll share a little something here for people. how storytelling changed my own life. Um, I often say, if you don't go, you don't have a story. So, one of the things that I did because I felt called to something, I felt called to go to Jordan. I wasn't sure why I was feeling called, but I went there. And so I went, and this was a tour. We traveled many different places, and then I found myself in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the night. I was awake. The moon had disappeared, and the sky was full of stars. And I stepped out of my tent. It was like the silence of the night surrounded me like a blanket, as if it had something to tell me. And I said, "You called me. What do you have to say?" And at that very moment, I found my answer, because there was a shooting star in the sky. And right after that, it was six shooting stars, one after the other, one after the other. And they all hit my heart. And I was crying the most beautiful and most healing tears I had ever cried. I was so happy. And then I understood why I was called. It's because I had to experience that beautiful experience in the desert. But that's not all. I shared my story about my becoming a new mom in front of a live audience in Hong Kong. I had learned public speaking and I wanted to share my story. So the day I told my story, the person who I am married to was sitting in the audience recording me. We were friends. A month after telling that story, him and I got together, and we've been together since January 2019. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey together. This is why I say, you don't know how storytelling is going to change your life. I guarantee you it will. So go grab that blueprint today. Thank you.
That's really lovely, Neha. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I had chills here while you were telling me all this. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. You have been featured at BIZBoost magazine issue number 6 at page 39, 40, 41, and 42. How was your experience with us?
I had a wonderful experience. I would say it was flawless and so smooth. I am very happy for your success, because you have grown so much, and for the exposure. I am so grateful, so grateful, because I have had the chance to meet few wonderful people from the connections that I have had through BizBoost. So I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words. To all the viewers, please follow Neha on Twitter at Neha Sonney and at Instagram at Neha Sonney Official. All the links are in the description. Through self love advocacy, she trains her audience to understand themselves, their thoughts, core beliefs, and emotions better. You can also check out her LinkedIn, where you can find her books, worksheets, and really helpful guides like your relationship readiness checklist, thriving after trauma, guided meditation, and principles to find your perfect partner and keeping them for life. You can find all these links in the live description below. Wrapping up this enlightening interview, it was really nice talking with you, Neha, and we have embraced a lot of things about spiritual growth, relationships, and self-love. Do you have a story to tell? Contact us today. Tell a friend right now, because we create meaningful and personalized digital media growth experiences for everyone. Signing off, this is Imran, your friendly host, creator of BizBoost Galaxy. Ciao, ciao.